Political system. Political system are the formal and informal political processes process, processes by which decisions are made concerning the use, production, and distribution of resources in any given society. Informal and customary political system, norms and rules and can operate within or alongside this formal political institution. Functions of political system. 1. To maintain integration of society by determining norms. 2. To adapt and change elements social, economic, religious system necessary for achieving collective political goals. And 3. To protect the integrity of the political system from outside threats. Four important input output functions of a political system. 1. Political socialization and recruitment. Political socialization, according to Almond, is the process of induction into the political culture, which leads to the development of a set attitudes among the members of the system. The process of political socialization brings change in the patterns of political culture. 2. Interest articulation. Interest articulation is concerned with the formulation and expression of interest, claims, and demands for political action. In the words of Almond, it is the process by which individuals and groups make demands upon the political decision makers that we call interest articulation. 3. Interest aggregation. It is the third important input function. Interest aggregation is achieved either by the formulation of general policy, policies in which articulates interest may be combined, accommodate, and compromise, or by the recruitment of political personnel who are more or less committed to a particular pattern or policy. 4. Political communication. Political communication is the fourth input function. All functions, of course, are performed by means of communication. Almond has compared political communication with the circulation of blood, which he describes as the medium through which other functions in the political system are performed. Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism, principles of behind submission to authority, as, as opposed to individual freedom of, of thought and action. In government, authoritarianism denotes any political system that concentrates power in the hands of a leader or a small elite that is not constitutionally responsible to the body of the people. Authoritarian leaders often exercise power arbi- arbitrarily and without regard to existing bodies of law. and they usually cannot be replaced by citizens choosing freely among various competitors in elections. Totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is a form of a government and political system that prohibits all opposition parties, outlaws individual opposition to the state and its claims, and exercises an extremely high degree of control and regulation over public and private life. Difference between totalitarianism and authoritarianism. In an authoritarianism, there are a few social and economical institutes that are outside of the government's control. So the au- so the authoritarian system wants full political power, but does not go beyond that. The totalitarianism system, on the other hand, wants power over everything. Democracy. Democracy is a highly cons- constat- con- contested concept, both in terms of its definition and its relationship to development. While some understand it in procedural terms as, as electoral competition and decision making, others view it more broadly in terms of civil and political rights and the distribution of power within society. Either, either way, a central question is how citizens exercise control and security over political institutions. Monarchy. Monarchy is a political system in which supreme authority is vested in the monarch, an individual ruler who functions as head of state. It, it typically acts as a political administrative organization and a social group of nobility known as court society. Monarchy, political system based upon the undivided sovereignty on rule of a single person. The term applies to states in which supreme authority is vested in the monarch, an individual ruler who functions as the head of state and who achieves his or her position through heredity. Through heredity, most monarchies allow only male succession, usually from father to son. Oligarchy. Oligarchy is a form government where political power effectively rests with a small, elite segment of society, whether distinguished by wealth, family, or military prowess. The word oligarchy is from the Greek words for few and rule. Forms of governments. A monarchy is a form of government in a state is ruled by an individual who typically inherits the throne by birth and rules for life or until ab- abdication. Oligarchy is a form of power structure in which power effectively rests with a small number of people. These people could be distinguished by royalty, wealth, family ties, education, corporate, or military control. Political corruption. Political corruption is the behavior of elected public officials which diverges from the formal components, the duties and powers, rights and obligations of a public role to seek private gain. Scales of corruption. Petty corruption occurs at a smaller scale and takes place at the implementation end of public services when public officials meet the public. Grand corruption is defined as corruption occurring at the highest levels of government in a way that requires significant subversion of the political, legal, and economic system. Such corruption is commonly found in countries with authoritarian or dictatorial governments, but also in those without educate, educate policing of corruption. Systemic corruption or endemic corruption is a corruption which is primarily due to the weaknesses of an organization or process. It can be constrained, constrained, contrasted with individual officials or agents who act corruptly within the system. Different sectors. Public sector corruption. Systemic corruption in the public sector erodes public trust in government institution, damages policy integrity, and distorts public sector outcomes. It also has a deep seat deep seat negative impact on the public sector in that it leads to a self-perpetuating organizational culture of corruption. Political collap- Political corruption. Political corruption is the use of powers by government officials or their network contacts for illegitimate private gain. Executive system. Executive. In politics, a person or persons constituting the branch of government charged with executing or carrying out the laws and appointing officials, formulating and instituting foreign policy, and providing diplomatic representation. Judiciary system. Judicial corruption. All sectors of society rely on the courts to sanction corrupt officials, politicians, citizens, and business people who steal resources and weaken integrity in public and private life. When the judicial system is corrupt, justice cannot be done. And this is this is our reinforcing and balancing look of political system. Thank you, ma'am.